What's going on, guys? Uh, just wanted to pop on and talk a little bit tonight about uh, figuring out your macros for weight loss and or weight gain, right? But most of us are looking to lose weight, to lose body. When we say we want to lose weight, we want to lose body fat, right? We don't want to lose lean body tissue, i.e., muscle. So I actually had a question from one of our subscribers. Along the lines of, calorie intake, how many calories, he was asking how many calories I take in a day, and do I track my macros? So I just wanted to go over that a little bit, and then I will show you a pretty basic formula on how to figure out your macros. Again, depending on what your goal is, so it's going to be one of three goals, right? But for the vast majority, what's up, Smoothie? How you doing, brother? Random, how are you? Appreciate you popping in. There's going to be one of three goals. The vast majority of us are looking to lose weight. We have, I don't think there's any question that, we have an obesity epidemic here. So most of us are looking to lose weight. There are some people that want to maintain their weight. And then there are some people that are looking to bulk. Let's say you're a guy in the gym, you're looking to hit the weights heavy and you want to put on a little bit of weight, right? So you want to figure out your roundabout calorie intake, what you should be taking in for each to satisfy each goal. And then you want to have the macronutrient breakdown of those calories at a certain ratio, a certain percentage of each, right? So, and when we're talking about the macronutrients, the three macronutrients are going to be protein, carbohydrates, and fat. And then when you hear the term micronutrients, you're talking about the vitamins and minerals that are contained within the food that we eat. All right, so we'll go over uh, these numbers, and again, I'll give you just a basic, a basic formula that's going to get you in the ballpark, and then you're going to have to do your own tweaking of it. Obviously, there's going to be you're going to have to track. You're going to have to take pictures of yourself, which I always recommend. But we'll get into all that. I'll go over again, just like a basic framework of what I would suggest you do if you're serious about losing weight, if you're serious about maintaining your weight or even gaining weight. Uh, there is a method to it. It works if you follow it, but you can't paint everybody with a broad brush. You can't say every guy should eat this many calories at this ratio. Uh, you know, it's specific to everybody, but you can do it. You start with the basic framework and then you formulate it to work for you. But it's like everything, it's trial and error. But if you're consistent with it, I can assure you it's going to work at some point. So we'll go over some numbers and hopefully it'll help you out. If you have any questions, pop them into the chat as we go along. Smooth. I don't know what your starting weight is, uh, but good on you. I mean, if you're 3 days in, I mean, a 72 is good too. You know what I mean? I don't know if you've done a 5-day before, but you want to make sure that you're taking in some salts. You don't want to just be doing plain water, because if you're taking in nothing but water, if you're being legit here and saying I'm only taking in water you're on your 3rd day and you're looking to shoot for 5 days, you should be taking in your electrolytes, because you're losing the electrolytes as you go along, right? You're taking in all this water and you're going to be pissing out the salts as you go along. So you have to replenish those, and that's going to be some magnesium, some salt, which is going to be, you could use Celtic salt or Himalayan pink salt, and some potassium. I do chicken broth and I drop 2 eggs in them. All right, well, that's not a fast. I mean, you're just seriously cutting calories is what you're doing there. So, if it's working for you, that's fine, but that's not a fast. water. If you're saying a water fast, you're just taking in water. But I would highly, highly recommend if you are going to take in water, you want to make sure you take in your salts. But chicken broth and eggs is not a fast. It's a it's a drastically reduced calorie, diet or whatever you want to call it. So, all right, guys. So the question came from a guy by the name of Gary. I believe he's based down in Florida, and he asked me. I did a video, I guess, a week or two ago, where I talked a little about the carnivore diet, and the carnivore diet is extremely restrictive. If you want to go back and just check it out and just see what I talked about, and I think there's a place for it, and I think it could work, um, but it's very restrictive, and I don't see, if somebody tells me I'm carnivore, carnivore is basically meat, salt, eggs, and water. You're not even drinking coffee, right? Because coffee comes from a plant. So everything on a carnivore diet is animal based. So extremely restrictive. Is there a place for it? Yes. Can you get a benefit from it? I'm sure you can. But I don't see anybody that's going to do it in the long term. If you tell me everybody wants to be part of the club. I'm a vegan, I'm a carnivore, I'm keto, I'm this. All of those diets, I believe that you can have success with them initially, but you have to transition back into a diet where I believe you have to transition back into a diet where it's more balanced. Okay. If you want to insist I'm a carnivore and I only eat meat, salt, butter, eggs, and water, see me in a year or two and tell me how you're doing with that. Um, and if you're that diamond in the rough, that needle in a haystack that can do it for years on end, well, good for you. But 99.99% of the people aren't going to do it. Can you do it for a while to get some type of benefit, weight loss benefit, some type of, if you want to, fix some type of health issue, by all means, go right ahead. But in the long term, I don't see it happening. Smooth, if you're cutting your calories like that, again, if you're telling me you said initially you were doing a water fast, again, chicken broth and eggs is not a water fast. You're just cutting your calories drastically. I would still take in some salts. I would still do the magnesium, again, some sodium and potassium. Those are the three main electrolytes, and you want to make sure you're getting those in if you're going to do a water fast. What's up, Jack? So again, getting back to my friend Gary, uh, his channel is Carnivore Fitness 2024. He was asking me about my daily macro intake. I don't know. I don't know how many. I don't track. I've done it before. I think that everyone should do it at some point in order to learn the calorie content of food. You could even, the nutritional content of the food with the micronutrients. If you're so inclined, you want to look at that. But most people have no idea what they're eating. Um, so I think that tracking for 3 months, 6 months, until you could start to do it intuitively and you kind of know you have a good idea of what you're eating, why you're eating it. I always think that's a good idea. So I've done it. I have a really good idea of what I eat a day. My calories are probably in the 2,500 to 3,000 a day, give or take. Um, I weigh 190 pounds, give or take. So I try and get in I shoot for about 150 grams of protein a day. I usually get that in. Um, so yeah, I think it's a good idea to track. So we'll get into the formula that, um, again, most of us are looking to lose weight. 75% of us are. So we'll go into a formula that you can use. Again, this is going to give you a roundabout idea of how many calories you should be eating a day. And then I'll try and show you how to break down the percentages of each macronutrient. And again, the macronutrients are protein, fat, and carbs. Smooth, there is sodium. Yeah. Well, I mean, they have low sodium. They have no I think they have no sodium chicken. I don't know exactly what you're putting in your mouth, but you want to make sure there's three electrolytes. There's sodium, potassium, and magnesium, and they're all very important. And I would suggest that you make sure you get those in. All right, guys. So I'm gonna use for the example, we're gonna take say a 200 pound guy, and he's looking to get down to say 175 pounds. Okay, we'll use 200 pounds because it's a relatively easy number. All right. So what you want to do is you want to take your what you think is going to be your optimum body weight. All right. So in this case, we have a 200-pound guy, and he says, "All right, I want to get down to 175 pounds." So I think that that's going to be my optimum body weight. That's always subject to change, and it usually is, but that's going to be our starting point. So all you're going to do, let me share this. I hope you guys can see this okay. So we're going to start here with our 200-pound guy. He wants to get down to 175. So we're going to use 175 as our optimal body weight. So I'm going to take 175 and I'm going to multiply that by 12. And that's going to give me 2,100 calories. Now, again, this is an estimate, a very, very rough estimate. Um, see if I can fix this up, Frank. Can you see that, Frank, all the way to the left? Any better there, Frank? Sorry, guys. I'll get back to this, I promise. I just want to make sure you can see everything. All right, guys, I'm just going to move on. Hopefully you could see this. I'll try and explain it as best I can. So again, we're starting off with a 200-pound guy. He wants to get down to 175 pounds. So we're going to use 175 as our optimal body weight. I'm going to take 175, and then I'm just going to multiply that by 12. It gives us 2,100 calories. And just to make it easy, I'm going to round that off to 2,000. So we're going to say that this 200-pound guy, if he wants to lose some weight, he's going to drop his calories to 2,000 calories a day. So what he's going to look to do is of those 2,000 calories, 50% of it, he wants to make that protein. He wants 50% of his calories coming from protein. And then he wants about 30% of it coming from fat and 20% of it coming from carbs. All right. So 50% of the 2,000 is going to give us 1,000 calories, right? So 1,000 calories. There are 4 calories per gram of protein. So we're going to take 1,000 calories, divide that by 4. So this guy is going to look to eat approximately 250 grams of protein a day. Then he's going to take 30% of that 2,000 and he's going to, that'll be fat. So 30% of the 2,000 will give us about 600 calories. Now, fat is more calorie dense. So in fat, there's 9 calories per gram of fat. So every gram of fat that you eat, you're going to take in 9 calories. So we're going to divide the 600 calories by 9, and that's going to give us about 67 grams of fat. So far, this guy's looking to do 250 grams of protein a day, 67 grams of fat a day, and then we're going to finish it off with about 20% carbohydrates. 20% of the 2,000 is going to give us 400 calories. There are 4 calories per gram of carbohydrate. It's the same as protein. So the odd man out is going to be the fat, which is 9 calories per gram. So the carbs, 4 calories per gram. We're going to try and aim for 400 calories there. That's going to give us 100 grams of carbs. All right. So if that makes sense, this guy is going to look to do about 2,000 calories a day. And that's going to be about 250 grams of protein, 67 grams of fat, and 100 grams of carbs. All right. So you want to get as close to that number as you can. How are you going to do that? You get yourself a calorie tracker, and that could be something like MyFitnessPal. There's another one called Chronometer, Chronometer, Chronometer. And then another one I use called Nutritionix. It's the word nutrition with IX at the end, Nutritionix. And you could check those out. Maybe one of those will work for you. But if you're so inclined and you want to track, which I highly suggest if you're really serious about losing weight, you want to do something like that. Now, when you do this, you want to stay as consistent as possible, obviously, with your calorie intake. Stay within those ratios. Get as close as you can with the 50% protein. The fat and carbs, you could play with a little bit. They don't have to be exact, but you want to try and get as close to that calorie number per day. Now, very important that you track your weight when you're doing this every single week. So you pick a day, usually Friday. You don't want to do it on a Monday after the weekend if you happen to go off the rails. So let's say every Friday morning, you would weigh yourself first thing in the morning, right out of bed, before you take anything in, down to a glass of water. You want to be completely empty. You weigh yourself every week and give it a good 2 or 3 weeks initially, and you're going to see what your weight's doing. If you're dropping, that's great. I would also say you want to take pictures, a day one picture, and then you're going to take pictures every 30 days thereafter. Okay, none of this, standing in the mirror and saying, "Hey, I think my abs, I think my abs are getting cut up," and I think I can see some definition here. That's nonsense. You should be taking pictures because when you take those pictures, it's really going to tell the whole story, right? And you want to do it at least 30 days apart when you do that. So again, I would use that formula to get a rough calorie estimate, and you want to get as close to those ratios as you can, the 50, 30, 20. Track your weight every single week, first thing out of bed. Take your pictures. Now, if by chance you start doing this and you're dropping, 5 or 6 pounds a week, my suggestion would be to bump up the calories a little bit, because when you lose weight, again, like I said in the beginning, our goal is to lose body fat. We don't want to be losing. And when we lose weight, when the scale goes down, We're always going to be losing some amount of body fat, and you will be breaking down some muscle because you're at a calorie deficit, right? The way to minimize that is always going to be to make sure that you're hitting your protein number and you're doing some type of resistance training. And that's going to minimize the loss of the lean body tissue, i.e., muscle, right? So you don't want to be losing, if you're eating 2,000 calories a day or 1,900 calories a day and you're dropping 5 pounds in a week, that's a little extreme because a good portion of that just might be, and probably is, going to be some muscle, which we don't want to break down. So you want to be aware of that, and just adjust your calories as you go along. Now, if you're doing this and you're not losing weight, well, then you're just going to drop your calories down a little bit, like maybe by 100 or two, maybe 150, 200 calories. You'll drop that down. And then you could try increasing your cardio a little bit. I'm not saying go out and run marathons. You could just go walk for 20, 30 minutes a day, right? Just to burn off a few extra calories. And that might help kickstart things, right? So you want to make sure you're looking at that. But like everything else, you have to be consistent, and you have to know that just because you have this formula here, it's not set in stone, right? It's going to be trial and error. But if you're consistent with it, you do it over time, you track the calories, try and hit that ratio as best you can. You should see that scale moving, right? Uh, Now, so again, that whole thing was if you were looking to lose some weight. Now, we do have some guys that might be looking to bulk up, right? So we're going to use the same formula basically, but we're going to change our ratios around. So let's say we have this 200-pound guy and he says, well, I want to bulk up to 220, 225. We'll take our target number, which is going to be 220. We're going to multiply that by 12. And that's going to give us 2,600 calories. Okay. So now he's going to be looking to eat approximately 2,600 calories a day in order to add some weight to his frame. Now, in a previous example where we're looking to lose weight, the suggestion was to eat 50% of your calories as protein. In this case, we're going to switch that 50% number to carbohydrates. So you're going to look to do roughly 50% carbohydrates with your calories when you're looking to gain weight, bulk up. If you're in the gym and you're hitting the weights hard, and again, you're looking to pack on some muscle, this would be the way to go. So in our example, our target number is going to be 2,600 calories a day. We're going to look to do 50% of that as carbohydrates, so that's 1,300 calories per day from carbohydrates. So again, 4 calories 4 calories per gram of carbohydrates. If we take that 1,300, divide that by 4, we're looking for roughly 300 to 325 grams of carbs per day. Now, a lot of people get excited when you see carbs. You think it's donuts and cookies and cake and candy, drinking soda. No, when I talk about carbohydrates, I'm talking about tubers, some potatoes, any type of vegetable, fruit, and things like that. Real food, okay? So we're looking to do about roughly 300 grams of carbs a day. And then your protein and your fat, you're just going to split that number up, roughly 25% of each. So 25% of that 2,600 number is going to be 650 calories. We're going to divide that by 4 because there's 4 calories per gram of protein. So then we're going to be looking at about 163 grams of protein per day. And then we're going to round it out with our fat. Again, the protein and fat, you can go even a little higher on a protein, maybe 30%. and then 20% fat. But if we do 25 and 25, we're looking at another 650 calories to round it off from fat. Again, 9 calories per gram of fat. So we'll divide the 650 by 9, and that's going to give us 72 grams of fat. So our theoretical guy here that's looking to go from 200 to 220, he's going to eat roughly 2,600 calories a day, about 300 grams of carbs, 160 grams of protein, and 70 grams of fat. Right? And it's going to be the same thing, but only in reverse. Right? Just like we talked about losing the weight. If you lose 5 or 6 pounds in a week, that's a little much. Okay, and it's the same thing here. If you settle on a number and you're packing on weight too quickly, it's body fat. Because it takes time to add muscle to your frame. So if you put on 3, 4, 5 pounds in a week or a week and a half, you can be relatively sure, you can be certain that that's body fat, and you don't want to be putting the body fat on too much. You want same thing with losing it. We want to go easy with putting the weight on. So this is something that you would do over the course of, at least 3 to 6 months. And again, you want to track your weight every week, adjust your calories as you go along. Make sure you're taking your pictures. You know, you really have to. Knowledge is power only if you use it, right? So if you're going to track the numbers, you have to make sure that you're adjusting as you go along. And again, it's going to take some time. If you've never done it, if you've never tracked your macros, you could use one of those three that I mentioned: the MyFitnessPal, the Chronometer, or the Nutritionix. All three apps. The only other thing I would suggest is when you do use these apps, especially this MyFitnessPal, which is a very bloated app and has a lot of ads, and it has a tendency to, when you put your numbers in, your target numbers, it'll tell you you're eating too much, you're not eating enough, and I would not take any suggestions from the app. When you see that pop up, I would just disregard it. These apps should only be used as a calculator, as a recorder. You know what I mean? Don't listen to any of the suggestions that it gives you because the numbers are way, way off. This is for you to figure out on your own. I'm just trying to give you a starting point where you could kind of do this and just get yourself going and get your feet wet with it. And you're going to see over time, you'll be able to know, hey, I'm a little short on protein. I need to eat this or that. Uh, and again, this is people ask me about protein drinks. Uh, I don't have anything against them across the board. Most of them that you're going to get in GNC, Walmart, most of them online are just trash, loaded with junk. I would go with a good whey protein isolate if you need to get your protein number for the day. But again, the protein powders, the supplements, that's just what they are. It's just a supplement to your diet. If you want to get a little extra protein in, if you can't hit it with whole food, some people, well, I just can't eat all that, because when you eat whole food, consistently, you're going to see a difference because it's not as calorie dense as all the junk, so you want to be aware of that. What's up, Fresh? Yeah, that's what I suggest. Yeah, a whey protein isolate, a good grass-fed whey protein isolate is usually the way to go. But again, you have to be aware, because most of them, if you pick up any type of protein supplement and it's got a laundry list of ingredients in it, which most of them do, a bunch of maltodextrin or sugar or sweeteners and flavors and God only knows what, they'll always put their proprietary blend on it, which means basically, we could sweep up the floor and throw it in there and we don't have to tell you exactly what it is. So I'd be leery of the stuff that you're going to go into Walmart and pick up off the shelf. So always go with a good, clean whey protein isolate. You don't want to see a ton of ingredients on that. Yeah, I'm okay with some stevia, fresh. I'm definitely not a fan of sucralose is Splenda. That's junk. That Ace K. I don't want any part of that. So stevia is probably the least of all the evils when it comes to that. I would stay away from maltodextrin. Maltodextrin is sugar on steroids. Uh, it's a surefire way to drive yourself to type 2 diabetes without a doubt. Any type of weight gainer, uh, you see these things that say weight gainer, mass gainer. What they mean is fat gainer because it's just a tub of maltodextrin. And I can guarantee you that anytime you go into a store and you pick up anything that says mass gainer, weight gainer, or anything like that, it's going to be the first ingredient is going to be maltodextrin, and that stuff is toxic to the body. I can guarantee you take that for any length of time, you're going to wind up a type 2 diabetic. So be very leery of that, guys. All right, guys. So unless there's any other questions, I'm going to leave it at that for now. Like I said, though, that's pretty much it. Pretty straightforward. You're going to take to lose the weight. You're going to take your what you think your optimum body weight is. Um, you're going to multiply that by 12. That's going to give you a roundabout number, a target for your calories per day. And then you're going to look to do 50% of those calories from protein, about 30% from fat, and about 20% from carbs. All right. And again, always track your weight, adjust your numbers give it 2 to 3 weeks to see exactly what your weight's doing, and then adjust the numbers as you go along. But I would take my weight every week. I would take pictures every 30 days, make sure you adjust those calories. Again, if you're going to be at a calorie deficit for any length of time, you want to make sure you're hitting that protein number and you're doing some resistance training in order to minimize the loss of muscle as you're going along. Because, like I said earlier, um, they when you lose weight, when you're losing weight, you're always going to be losing some amount of body fat along with and you are going to be breaking down some muscle. You're going to be catabolic to some extent. So you want to minimize that, and you're going to do that by taking in sufficient protein and some resistance training. And again, if you find that you're holding steady, you're not gaining, you're not losing at that number that you're at, you could just tick that number down a little bit by 100, 150 calories, and maybe increase your cardio a little bit. And again, like I mentioned earlier, I'm not telling you to go out and run sprints and run marathons. It could be something, just like a 20 to 30 minute walk on a treadmill every day at an incline. Some steady state cardio, and see if that gets things moving for you. Uh, and then again, for you guys that if anybody's looking at bulk, it's going to be a similar principle. We're going to take our target body weight, what you think you want your body weight to be. In this case, we used an example. A 200-pound guy is looking to go to 220. So we're going to multiply that 220 by 12. That's going to give us 2,600 calories. And then we're going to go for 50% carbs on that, 25% protein, 25% fat. All right. It's the same principle the other way around. When we're trying to lose, we're going to track our weight every week, see what it's doing. You don't want to be putting on a ton of weight every week because it's going to be just pure body fat. Again, if you're putting on 3, 4, 5 pounds a week, I can assure you it's not muscle. It's going to be. It takes time. It takes a lot of time to build the muscle. So there's always going to be some amount. You will be building muscle as you go, very slowly as you go, but you're going to be putting on fat at a much quicker rate. So you have to be aware of that, and make sure you're getting in your resistance training, because you don't build muscle just by increasing your calories and eating more carbs. You put on weight, you put on body fat by doing that. Right. So you have to get that, make sure you're getting your resistance training in there too. Yeah, fresh. I have, I know everybody loves oats, but you know, I grew up on oats. I don't eat them anymore. I don't see a reason for them. But yeah, if you're looking at, again, in this case, we're talking about bulking up. It's probably one of the best things you could use as far as a carb goes. But I would definitely go with something organic, like you said. Um, but the thing is, most people, you don't. First of all, you don't like oats. You I don't know anybody that takes just plain oats, cooks them in a pot of water, and then eats them without putting anything on them. They Oats, and even when we talk about like chicken breast, like boneless, skinless chicken breast, very few people just eat a piece of boneless, skinless chicken breast. It's usually we use it as a vehicle. We put something on it. In the case of chicken breast, you're going to put some cheese on it, some sauce, and maybe bread it, and you know what I'm saying. And it's the same thing with oats. You're going to put something in it, whether it's peanut butter or some type of fruit. Most people douse it with sugar, but to say that you just like oats to eat oatmeal, plain oatmeal with nothing on it, just cooked in water. You're a different breed if that's what you're doing. But most people, again, aren't going to do that. But if you need the carbs, again, if you're looking to bulk up, uh, then sure, why not? Just use the oats. Again, I was raised on them. I just don't. They're not a part of my diet anymore. Uh, yeah, for sure, they could definitely be a part of somebody's diet if they're looking to, depending on what your depending on what your goals are. All right, guys. So I'm going to leave it at that. If there's any other questions, um, can you cook boneless? Yeah, but smoothie, why? I don't understand why. Uh, what benefit is that? How's that going to benefit you? What nutritional value are you getting out of that? Um, I'm not quite sure. I don't see the point of the question, to be honest with you. I'm not being a wise guy, but I just don't see. I guess you could. I guess people do. I'm sure they do. But why? Cook them in butter. Cook them in a little bit of olive oil. Some ghee. You know what I mean? Like what? Why? I don't understand white wine. Yeah, you're right, Fresh. Um, chicken thighs to me are much more palatable with the fat content. I usually throw those in the air fryer with a little, salt and pepper, and that's all I need on those. So, I mean, smoothie you could just. I would put them in a slow cooker. You could put your chicken broth over the chicken in a slow cooker. It makes it nice and tender, and season it up however you want. I mean, dry seasonings are pretty much everything's on the table. From salt and pepper. Uh, I mean, you name it. I wouldn't worry about any putting any type of herbs or dry seasonings on the chicken like that. But you could bake them in the oven. You could throw them in a slow cooker. And again, a lot of the store-bought chicken breast can be. Um, oh, I'm sorry, you said chicken thigh. Chicken? Yeah, like I said, I put them in the slow cooker, but I'm sorry, in the air fryer. The thighs. I'm sorry, I read that as chicken breast. But with the chicken breast, like I said, you could put those in a slow cooker or an air fryer if you want, or the oven. Just bake them up. But when it comes to that, to eating that, just any type of seasoning is going to be on the table. Yeah, and I mean, Freshy's right on that too. I mean, if you're looking to fry them, I would cook them in a little bit of olive oil or the ghee, even some butter. Beef tallow is also good. Any of that is good. Not vegetable oil, none of the seed oil. Stay away from that. Those things are toxic. So, all right, guys. If there's no other questions, I'm going to leave it at that. I hope that helped. Anybody has any other questions, you can hit me up in the comments. Maybe we'll do another one and answer some more questions. But I appreciate everybody being here. I hope that helped. Make sure you guys get your reps in. Everybody stay safe, stay healthy, and I will talk to you guys in the next one. Thanks, guys.